Men today are spilling their power like it means nothing, training themselves into the void, giving away the very essence that built empires, carved philosophy into stone, and turned ordinary men into legends. But there was one man, ancient, misunderstood, and feared by the masses, who refused to spill his sacred fire. His name was Socrates, and what you've been told about him barely scratches the surface of his true power. Socrates was not just a thinker. He was a warrior of the inner world, a soldier of logos. The Greeks spoke of logos as divine reason, universal truth, the spiritual code that governed all things. And Socrates lived by that code. He understood something modern men have forgotten. When you retain your seed, you retain your alignment with logos. This isn't just spiritual fluff. This is the most practical truth you'll ever hear. Socrates didn't chase pleasure. He didn't bow to the body. He mastered it. He walked barefoot through snow, stared tyrants in the face, and still stood taller. Why? Because he wasn't driven by lust. He wasn't enslaved by the senses. He had transmuted his primal drive into something divine: wisdom, presence, unshakable will. And here's the truth nobody wants to tell you. Semen retention is not about avoiding women. It's about transcending desperation. It's about no longer being ruled by your lower nature. It's about looking a beautiful woman in the eyes and knowing, truly knowing, that you do not need her validation to feel like a man. That's power. You think Socrates sat around obsessing about sex? No, he was too busy channeling his fire into arete, Greek for virtue, excellence, the peak of manhood. He believed that every man was born with a divine spark. But that spark could only ignite through discipline and self-mastery, and semen is the spark. You don't throw away the oil that fuels the sacred flame. You protect it. You refine it. Kani, you. Let it rise up your spine, electrify your mind, and awaken the logos within you. Look around you. What do you see? Men weakened by lust, addicted to screens, pixels, porn, their energy leaking day by day. Hollowed out, passive, controlled. The system wants you drained because drained men don't revolt. Drained men don't build. Drained men don't question. But Socrates questioned everything. He questioned power. He questioned desire. He questioned himself. And in doing so, he became the freest man in Athens, even when sentenced to death. That's the kind of freedom semen retention unlocks. It's the kind of internal empire no tyrant can conquer. The real revolution is not out there. It's inside you. You have a choice. Be like the masses, sedated and submissive. Or be like Socrates, sovereign, sharp, spiritually forged. Retention is rebellion. When you keep your seed, you're not just holding back pleasure. You're holding on to purpose. Every drop of that sacred energy contains the blueprint of life. And when it doesn't go out, it goes up into your voice, your eyes, your aura. People feel it. Women feel it. You walk into a room with your seed intact, and they notice. Not because you're loud, not because you flex, but because they can sense the presence of a man who has chosen himself over his urges. And that, my brother, is magnetic. Socrates never wrote a word. Yet his impact is eternal. Why? Because he lived a life so infused with logos, with divine masculine restraint, that others couldn't help but remember him. His disciples carried his legacy because he carried his essence. He didn't waste it on meaningless release. You think greatness is just about talent? It's about containment. The stronger the vessel, the more pressure it can hold, the more power it can generate. Socrates was a vessel of unimaginable intensity because he never let his seed escape carelessly. He practiced the art of retention long before it had a name. You want discipline? Start there. Start by holding in what others throw away. You want spiritual vision? Keep the seed. Let it rise. You want women to respect you? Stop needing them. Socrates didn't need praise. He didn't need status, and he sure as hell didn't need to ejaculate to prove his manhood. He had something infinitely greater, the clarity of a man connected to eternal truth. You want that clarity, you want that dominance over self, then stop draining your divine essence like a fool. 'Cause the moment you stop chasing is the moment women start watching. Not with pity, but with reverence. Because they feel what you've become, and they know they can't control it. You are not made to be a slave to pleasure. You were made to command it, to shape it, to transmute it into wisdom, wealth, and warriorship. Just like Socrates, you are holding a weapon within you. Not a sword, not a gun, something older, more potent, more divine. It's your seed, it's your fire. It's the raw source energy that built civilizations, moved prophets, and commanded the respect of kings and queens alike. Socrates, the original alchemist of the mind, knew that spilling that power was a form of self-betrayal. He lived in a time when gods walked among men, or so they thought. But the real gods were those who didn't need temples, gold, or lust to command attention. The real gods were men like Socrates, lean, powerful, possessed by inner fire, not obsessed with orgasm, but possessed by logos. You see, logos is not just reason, it's alignment, it's cosmic order. When you retain, you align. When you ejaculate recklessly, you fracture. You become chaotic, forgetful, impulsive, lost. But when you hold in your essence, that energy rises, organizing your thoughts, sharpening your will, anchoring you in something unbreakable. This is not superstition. This is masculine truth. Socrates once stood before a crowd of drunken men at a feast, a symposium. They mocked him, they partied, they chased pleasure, but when he spoke, silence. Because his words came from a place of power. Not from desire, but from dominance. Not from ego, but from essence. Every syllable shaped like a sword, cutting through illusion, penetrating the soul. Retention gave him that edge. When a man retains, his words weigh more. His presence thickens. He doesn't speak to impress. He speaks to imprint. Just like Socrates did, calm, composed, dangerous in silence. He was the man every woman remembered, and every man secretly envied, because he didn't need applause. He radiated from within. Retention gives you that glow. Not the fake, smile for the camera glow. The glow that comes when you sleep like a lion, dream like a prophet, and rise like a king, untouched, unbothered, unapologetic. Why do you think Socrates attracted men like Plato? His power recognizes power. You think this modern world is different. It's not. The battlefield has shifted, but the war remains. And today, the war is for your energy. Every screen, every app, every pixel of lust is a trap. We trained, weak, begging for dopamine. Socrates didn't beg. He faced the system. He stared down the courts. They threatened him with exile. He laughed. They offered him silence. He spoke louder. And when they sentenced him to death, he drank the poison, calm, ready, immortal in spirit. That's what happens when a man has transmuted his fear into wisdom, his lust into clarity, his seed into strength. He became untouchable. And you can too, not by copying his words, but by embodying his discipline. When you hold your seed, you are not suppressing your masculinity. You are sharpening it. You are crafting it into a blade that cuts through weakness, distraction, and delusion. Women obey men like that, not because of brute force, not because of manipulation, but because they feel something ancient when they're around you. A man who cannot be seduced. A man who leads from depth, not desperation. A man who walks into a room and shifts the atmosphere without a word. That's retention. It's not just about sex, it's about sovereignty. When your seed rises, so does your standard. You no longer tolerate disrespect. You no longer seek external validation. You walk with an inner gravity. And that makes you rare. That makes you dangerous. In a world where every man is controlled by lust, the man who controls his lust becomes king. Socrates was that king. And his kingdom was invisible, made not of walls and riches, but of mental dominance and spiritual clarity. That's the kingdom you are building now. Every time you say no to lust, yes to purpose. Every time you choose focus over fantasy. Every time you retain, you rise. And here's the secret they'll never tell you. Retention isn't about doing less. It's about becoming more grounded, more driven, more divine. When you stop spilling your seed, you stop spilling your potential. Socrates' life wasn't easy, but it was legendary. He walked through fire, not because he was fearless, but because his fear bowed before his discipline. He mastered his biology. He conquered the animal within. And in doing so, he became a man forged in fire, unshaken by the world. That's the model. Not a slave to sex, but a master of energy. Not a pleaser, but a philosopher. Not a simp, but a sage. When you walk that path, you don't need to tell people who you are. They know. They feel it. Your aura precedes you. Your eye contact breaks illusions. Okay? Your silence becomes prophecy. And when women stand before you, they don't lead, they follow. Because your energy commands, not with force, but with frequency. Retention. It's not a gimmick. It's the return of the sacred masculine. It's the ancient secret. It's hidden in plain sight that the more you give in to lust, the more you lose yourself. And the more you retain, the more you remember who you are. You are not just flesh and bone. You are fire and breath. You are the Logos incarnate. But only if you stop wasting the very thing that makes you divine. This is the path Socrates walked, the path they don't want you to find. But you found it, and now there's no turning back. You don't just retain semen, you retain mission, you retain clarity, you retain your edge. You're not here to be drained. You're here to dominate. So walk like Socrates, speak with fire, lead from stillness, retain your power, and rise beyond this world. Join the movement. Subscribe.